Commander Lee Ji-hoon stood at the large window of the spaceship Harmony, watching the stars. For 30 years, humans had talked to alien friends across the galaxy through a big communication network. Today, something was very wrong. The lights on his control screen were going out one by one. Each light meant a human colony or space station. Red lights meant no contact. Green lights meant everything was okay. Right now, almost all the lights were red. "Sir, we lost contact with Luna Base," said Lieutenant Park Sora. Her voice was shaking. Luna Base was the moon station near Earth. It was always the last place to lose contact because it was so close to home. Ji-hoon felt his stomach drop. Luna Base going dark meant Earth itself might be in trouble. He had been a space commander for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "What about the emergency channels?" he asked. "Nothing, sir." Complete silence from all human worlds, answered Kim Do-hyun, his young assistant. The boy looked scared. He was only 22 and had never seen a real crisis before. The bridge became very quiet. Only the soft humming of machines could be heard. Ji-hoon looked at the big star map on the wall. Red dots showed where humans lived throughout the galaxy. All of them were blinking red now, meaning no contact. 6 hours ago, everything had been normal. Humans were trading with aliens, sharing stories, and building new homes on distant planets. Children were playing in space stations. Families were having dinner on colony worlds. Scientists were discovering new things about the universe. Now nothing. Complete silence from every human in the galaxy. On the other side of the galaxy, alien friends were noticing the same thing. The Velthari were tall blue creatures who had been humanity's first alien friends. Their leader, Counselor Rethmos, sat in his crystal chair watching the same readings. "The humans have stopped talking," he said to his advisors. "All of them, everywhere, at the same time." The Velthari had very good ears and could hear radio signals from very far away. They had been listening to human music, news, and conversations for decades. Human voices were cheerful and loud, always talking about new ideas and funny jokes. The silence felt wrong. "Maybe their machines broke," suggested a young Velthari. "All of them? At the same time?" "That is not possible," Rethmos replied. He was old and wise, and he knew when something was not natural. Far away, on a planet made of living crystal, the Nexari were also worried. The Nexari looked like walking diamonds and were very smart. They could think faster than most other creatures in the galaxy. Their observer, a beautiful crystal being called Shalthis, was studying the readings. "This pattern is impossible," Shalthis said, her voice making musical sounds. "Organic species do not disappear this way. There are always survivors, always some who escape or hide. But the humans, they are simply gone." The Nexari had special machines that could detect life from very far away. These machines showed that human worlds still had air, water, and food. The planets were still good for living. But there were no human life signs anywhere. Back on the Harmony, Ji-hoon was trying to understand what happened. He called his communications officer. "Try the old emergency codes," he ordered. "The ones from before we joined the galaxy." "I already tried, sir. Nothing works. It's like every human communication device in the galaxy turned off at exactly the same time." Ji-hoon walked to his private office and sat down. On his desk was a picture of his wife Minji and their daughter Yuna. They lived on New Sol, a colony world 3 systems away. He had planned to visit them next month. He tried calling them on his personal device. The call could not connect. The system said location not found, as if New Sol did not exist anymore. Meanwhile, other alien species were starting to panic. The Kethmar were warrior creatures who respected humans for their fighting spirit. The Zephyrians were peaceful, traders who loved doing business with humans. The Aquari were underwater people who enjoyed human music. All of them were asking the same questions. Where did the humans go? How could an entire species just disappear? Some aliens thought it was an attack. Others thought it was a disease. A few believed the humans had found a way to travel to another galaxy. But no one had real answers. The strangest part was that human machines were still working. Space stations were still flying in orbit. Colony farms were still growing food. Robot workers were still doing their jobs. It was as if all the humans had simply walked away from their lives at the same moment. As night fell on the Harmony, Ji-hoon made a decision. He would take his small ship and go to the nearest human colony to see what happened. He needed to find his family and his people. But deep in his heart, he was afraid of what he might find, or maybe what he might not find. The galaxy felt different now, quieter, emptier, like someone had turned off a bright light that everyone had gotten used to seeing. Something big had happened to humanity, and the rest of the galaxy was about to discover what it meant to live without their newest and most energetic friends. 3 months had passed since the humans went silent. Captain Yoon Minho stood on the bridge of his exploration ship Seeker, looking at the edge of human space. He had volunteered to lead the search mission because he was curious and brave. Many alien species had joined together to find out what happened to their human friends. "We are approaching Titan Station," said Navigator Choi Nari. She was young but very good at flying ships through space. The big mining station appeared on their screens, floating near Saturn's moon like always. The station looked normal. Its lights were blinking in regular patterns. The solar panels were still collecting energy from the sun. The big mining arms were still moving, digging metals from the moon's surface. Everything seemed to be working perfectly. "That's strange," said Dr. An Min-jae, the team's scientist. "If the station is working, where are all the people?" Captain Minho decided to go inside the station. He took a small team with him, including Security Chief Han Soo-young. She was a tough woman who had once been a space police officer. The alien team members stayed on the ship to monitor everything. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The team walked into the station's main hallway. The lights turned on automatically as they walked, just like they were supposed to. The air felt normal and safe to breathe. "Hello?" called out Han Soo-young. "Is anyone here?" No answer came back, only the quiet humming of machines. They walked to the cafeteria first. On the tables they found plates of food that had been left half-eaten. A cup of coffee sat cooling next to a half-finished sandwich. A child's drawing was stuck to the wall, showing a family standing in front of a big spaceship. "Look at this," said Choi Nari. She pointed to a table where someone had been reading the news on a tablet. The screen still showed an article about a new playground being built on Mars. The date was from 3 months ago, the day humans stopped talking. They moved to the living areas where families had their homes. In one apartment, toys were scattered on the floor. A small teddy bear sat on a bed as if waiting for its owner to come back. Children's clothes were folded neatly in closets. Family photos showed happy people smiling at birthday parties and holidays. "This doesn't make sense," Han Soo-young said. "There are no signs of fighting, no broken things, no blood. It's like everyone just left." In another apartment, they found a man's work uniform hanging on a chair. His boots were by the door, muddy from walking around the mining areas. His wife's jewelry was still in a box on the dresser. Everything valuable was left behind. Dr. An Min-jae was studying his scanner. "The computer says there should be 800 people living here," he said. "But I'm not reading any human life signs, not even old ones." They went to the control room where the station's main computer was kept. This was where the workers managed all the mining operations. The screens were still showing production numbers and safety reports. Everything looked normal. Han Soo-young sat down at one of the computers and started looking through the files. Most of them were boring reports about mining and maintenance, but then she found something interesting. "Here," she said, "look at these deleted files." The computer had tried to erase some information, but small pieces remained. Dr. An Min-jae helped her put the pieces together like a puzzle. They found words like Protocol Omega and Great Transition and keeping the galaxy safe. "What do you think Protocol Omega means?" asked Choi Nari. "I don't know," said Min-jae. "But it sounds important, like a big plan." They found more file fragments that talked about necessary absence and the long sleep. One piece mentioned preparing for departure, and another said, until it is safe to return. Back on the Seeker, the alien team members were very confused. Elder Koshai was a Velthari who had lived for 300 years. He had seen many strange things in space, but never anything like this. They left as if they were planning to come back, he said in his deep, musical voice. Their belongings are arranged carefully. Their machines are still working. This was not an emergency evacuation. The Nexari observer Shalthis agreed. Her crystal body sparkled as she thought. The pattern suggests preparation, not panic. They knew they were leaving and they planned for it. Captain Minho made a decision. We need to check more human places. Maybe we can find better clues on one of their planets. They left Titan Station exactly as they found it and flew to New Sol, a colony world where 50,000 humans had lived. When they arrived, they saw the same thing. The cities were perfect and empty. Cars were parked neatly. Gardens were still being watered by automatic systems. But no people anywhere. In a house in the main city, they found a family's dinner table, set for 4 people. The food was old now, but it showed that a family had been about to eat together when something happened. A child's homework was spread out on another table, half-finished math problems waiting for someone who would never return. The mystery was getting deeper, and the search team was running out of easy answers. Dr. Song Haiwan walked slowly through the dark tunnels under Mars Research Station. She was an expert at studying old civilizations and finding hidden secrets. The search team had been looking for answers about the missing humans for weeks, and this was their last hope. There's something down here, she said into her radio. The tunnels go much deeper than the station plans show. Captain Yoon Minho's voice crackled back. Be careful, Doctor. Take Wu Jin with you. Communications officer Zhang Wu Jin joined her with a flashlight and scanner. He was good with computers and could unlock electronic doors. Together, they followed the hidden tunnel that seemed to go straight down into the planet's core. After walking for an hour, they found a huge metal door. It was different from normal human doors. This one was thicker and had strange symbols on it. Wu Jin connected his computer to the door's lock system. This is weird, he said. The door has 3 different security systems. One needs a password, one needs a fingerprint, and one needs a special keycard. Why would humans need so much security? After working for 20 minutes, the door finally opened with a deep rumbling sound. Cold air rushed out, carrying a strange smell like old metal and chemicals. They walked inside and found themselves in a room bigger than a football field. The walls were covered with screens and computers. In the center of the room sat a large table with chairs around it. But what made them gasp were the things covering the walls. Pictures, documents, and objects that looked very old and definitely not human. Look at this, whispered Song Haiwan. She pointed to a wall covered with photographs of dead planets. The pictures showed worlds that were completely empty, with no plants, no water, and no life. Just gray dust and broken rocks. On another wall were drawings and carvings from different alien civilizations. All of them showed the same thing. Huge dark creatures eating planets and stars. The creatures looked like giant shadows with too many teeth and eyes. Zhang Wujin found a computer that was still working. When he turned it on, a holographic image appeared in the air. It was President Kang Myung, the leader of all human colonies. She looked tired and scared. If you are watching this, the hologram said, then humanity has already begun the final protocol. We discovered something terrible, something that threatens all life in the galaxy. The hologram showed more pictures of the dark creatures. We call them the Devourers, President Kang continued. They travel between galaxies like a plague, eating all intelligent life they find. They come every 50,000 years and they are coming again. Song Haiwan felt her hands shaking. How did humans find out about this? The hologram answered as if it heard her question. Our deep space explorers found ruins on distant worlds, dead civilizations that tried to fight these creatures and lost. We studied the patterns and learned the truth. The Devourers will arrive in our galaxy within 30 years. Wu Jin found more files on the computer. They contained scientific reports and calculations. Human scientists had worked for 5 years to understand the threat. They learned that the Devourers were almost impossible to kill. They existed partly in normal space and partly in another dimension, which made weapons useless against them. We faced a terrible choice, the hologram of President Kang continued. We could warn the galaxy and watch billions panic and fight a war they cannot win. Or we could find another way. The computer showed plans for something called Protocol Omega. It was humanity's solution to the problem. Instead of fighting the Devourers, humans would hide from them, not by running away to another planet, but by moving to another dimension entirely. Our scientists discovered how to shift our entire species into quantum space, President Kang explained. We can sleep there safely while the Devourers pass through our galaxy. When they leave, we will return. Song Hee-won understood now. They didn't disappear. They hid. The hologram showed the final message. We cannot tell our alien friends about this threat. If we do, some will panic and try to run, making noise that attracts the Devourers faster. Others will try to fight and will be destroyed. The galaxy will fall into chaos. President Kang's image looked directly at them. So we choose to carry this burden alone. Humanity will enter the long sleep and wait. We will watch from quantum space as the Devourers come and go. Only when the galaxy is safe again will we return. The hologram ended with President Kang saying goodbye to the universe. We do this not because we are cowards, but because someone must survive to remember what was lost. Someone must be left to help rebuild when the darkness passes. Wu Jin found the final entry in the computer. It was dated 3 months ago, the day humans went silent. All colonies report successful transition to quantum space. The final protocol is complete. Long sleep begins now. Song Hye-won sat down in one of the chairs, feeling overwhelmed. They knew this would happen. They knew the galaxy would think. They abandoned everyone. But they didn't abandon us, Wu Jin said quietly. They're still here, just sleeping in another dimension, waiting for the danger to pass. Outside the secret room, the rest of the search team was waiting for answers. Song Hye-won knew that what they had learned would change everything. The humans weren't gone. They were hiding, protecting themselves and saving hope for the future. But the Devourers were still coming. Dr. Seo Junhyuk opened his eyes in the dim blue light of the quantum monitoring station. Around him, billions of humans slept peacefully, in their stasis pods, floating in the space between dimensions. He was one of only 50 humans awake, chosen to watch over their sleeping species during the long wait. Through the quantum viewing screens, he could see normal space where the galaxy continued to exist. 2 years had passed since humanity entered their hiding place. The alien species had learned the truth about the Devourers from the secret room on Mars, but there was nothing anyone could do now except wait. Status report, whispered Colonel Oh Minji as she floated over to his station. She was the military commander of the Watchers responsible for keeping their hiding place safe. The deep space sensors are picking up something, Junhyuk said, his voice tight with worry. They're coming. On the screen, the edge of the galaxy began to change. Stars that had burned brightly for billions of years started to go dark, one by one. Not the gentle dying of old stars, but sudden complete disappearance as if they had never existed at all. The Devourers had arrived. They came like a wave of living darkness, flowing between the stars. From the quantum dimension, the Watchers could see them clearly for the first time. They were huge beyond imagination, bigger than planets with bodies that seemed to be made of hungry shadow. They moved through space without ships, feeding on the light and life of everything they touched. Alert the other Watchers, Colonel Minji ordered. Everyone needs to see this. Soon, all 50 conscious humans were gathered around the viewing stations, watching in horror as the creatures they had feared for so long began their feast. The first worlds to fall were on the outer rim of the galaxy, where small colonies and research stations had no chance to defend themselves. The Velthari, humanity's blue-skinned friends, tried to fight first. Their beautiful crystal ships fired powerful energy weapons at the approaching darkness. The weapons passed right through the Devourers like light through smoke. In response, one of the creatures simply opened what looked like a mouth, and an entire Velthari fleet disappeared into nothingness. They can't hurt them, whispered Dr. Park Yuna, one of the younger Watchers. The weapons don't work at all. From their hidden dimension, the humans watched as brave alien warriors threw their lives away in hopeless battles. The Kethmar, Proud, fighters who had never lost a war charged at the Devourers with every ship they had. They lasted 3 minutes. The Nexari, with all their intelligence and crystal technology, tried to create shields around their home worlds. The Devourers ate the shields like candy and continued to the planets below. Within hours, worlds that had been home to billions of crystal beings became empty rocks floating in space. "This is the hardest part," Colonel Minji said to the watching humans. "We have to see our friends die and do nothing to help them." But some aliens had learned from humanity's example. The Zephyrians, who were peaceful traders, had quietly disappeared from their home worlds weeks before the Devourers arrived. They had hidden in deep space in places too small and dark for the creatures to notice. A few Aquari had dived to the deepest parts of their ocean worlds, hoping the water would protect them. Some Velthari had built secret bunkers in asteroid fields, powered down all their technology, and tried to wait in silence. The smart ones, the ones who had listened to humanity's warning, had a chance to survive. Dr. Seo Junhyuk found himself crying as he watched entire civilizations disappear. The proud cities of the Talamarai, with their floating towers and singing crystals, became dust in minutes. The great libraries of the Korvani, containing the knowledge of 1,000 worlds, burned in dark fire that left nothing behind. "How many are we losing?" asked Captain Lee Minsu, another watcher. "Billions," Junhyuk answered. "Maybe trillions. Every hour entire species are being erased." The worst part was watching the final messages. As each world fell, the aliens tried to send last words to anyone who might be listening. Messages of love to families who were already gone. Warnings to colonies that would never receive them. Promises to remember their cultures and their dreams. The humans in quantum space heard every message, but they could not respond. To send any signal back would reveal their hiding place and doom their entire species. One message came from Elder Kasahai, the wise Velthari, who had helped search for missing humans. He was broadcasting from his dying world as the Devourers approached his city. "To the humans, wherever you are hiding," his voice said through the static. "We understand now why you left. We do not blame you for saving yourselves. Remember us when you return. Remember that we tried to be brave." The signal ended as his world went dark. Colonel Minji gathered all the watchers together. "This is why we're here," she told them. "Not just to keep our own people safe, but to remember everyone who didn't make it. When this is over, we'll be the only ones left who know their stories." Through the quantum barriers, they continued to watch as the galaxy burned. The Devourers moved like a slow storm, taking their time to consume every bit of life they could find. They would be here for years, eating and growing stronger before moving on to hunt in other galaxies. And humanity would wait, hidden and watching, until the darkness passed and it was safe to return to the light. Commander Baek Jiwoo felt strange as she woke up from the long sleep. Her body was stiff, but the stasis pod had kept her healthy during the 500 years she had been sleeping. Around her, millions of other pods were opening as humanity began to wake up. The quantum dimension had protected them well. While the Devourers had eaten most of the galaxy, the humans had slept safely in their hidden space. Now the monitors showed that the dark creatures had moved on to hunt in other galaxies far away. "Status report," Jiwoo said to the awakening technicians around her. "The Devourers left the galaxy 50 years ago," reported Dr. Nam Jinho, stretching his arms after the long sleep. "Our sensors show it's safe to return to normal space." Slowly, carefully, humanity began to emerge from their quantum hiding place. The first ships appeared near Earth, then more near the old colonies. It felt good to see real stars again instead of the blue glow of the quantum dimension. But the galaxy they returned to was very different from the one they had left. Captain Lim Seong-ho took his exploration ship to where the great Velthari cities used to be. He found only empty space and floating rocks. The beautiful crystal worlds of the Nexari were gone completely, not even dust remaining to show they had ever existed. "It's so quiet," said his pilot, Lieutenant Cho Yunbi. She was young and had never seen the galaxy when it was full of alien voices and busy trade routes. But as they explored further, they found something wonderful. New life was beginning to grow on the empty worlds the devourers had left behind. Young plants were pushing up through the gray soil. Small animals were swimming in the new oceans. The galaxy was healing itself, creating fresh life to replace what had been lost. And they were not alone. On a small planet near what used to be Velthari space, they found a group of blue-skinned aliens living in simple homes. These were the descendants of Velthari who had hidden in deep space during the dark time. They looked different from their ancestors, smaller and quieter, but they were alive. "Humans," said their leader, a young Velthari named Kesmira. "We thought you were all dead too." "We were hiding," Captain Lim explained. "Just like you were." The reunion was emotional. The surviving Velthari had spent 500 years thinking they were the last of their kind in the galaxy. Finding humans alive gave them hope that others might have survived too. They were right. Deep in the ocean worlds, some Aquari had survived by hiding in underwater caves. A few Zephyrian families had lived on tiny asteroids, eating algae and drinking recycled water for centuries. Some Kethmar warriors had built secret bunkers in dead systems and slept through the worst years. But most of the galaxy's great civilizations were gone forever. Dr. Nam Yunji, now very old despite the stasis sleep, worked with the survivors to count who was left. Where billions of aliens had once lived, only thousands remained. Where hundreds of species had filled the galaxy with art and music and knowledge, only a few dozen groups had made it through the dark time. "We lost so much," she said sadly as she looked at the records of the dead worlds. But Commander Jiwoo had a different view. "We saved what we could," she said, "and now we can build something new." The humans shared their stored knowledge with the survivors. During their quantum sleep, they had kept safe copies of alien art, music, stories, and science. The great libraries might be gone, but the memory of what they contained lived on in human computers. They also shared their technology. The quantum dimension technique could be taught to other species, so if the devourers ever returned, everyone would know how to hide safely. Young humans and young aliens worked together to plant new cities on the empty worlds. They learned each other's languages and shared stories about the time before the darkness. Children who had never seen the old galaxy grew up thinking it was normal for different species to be friends. Captain Kim Tae-hyung led a team to build the first new space station in what used to be the center of galactic trade. It was much smaller than the old stations, but it felt like hope growing in the emptiness. "My grandmother told me stories about the old days," said alien engineer Velnara, a young Velthari woman working with the humans. "She said the galaxy was full of lights and voices. Maybe we can make it that way again." The work was slow but steady. New farms grew food on worlds that had been empty for centuries. New schools taught children from different species to read and write together. New ships carried explorers to find more survivors hiding in forgotten corners of the galaxy. One day, Dr. Nam Yunji received a message that made her cry happy tears. It was from a group of Nexari who had hidden inside a moon during the dark time. They were still alive and wanted to join the rebuilding effort. "We did the right thing," she said to Commander Jiwoo, as they watched human and alien children playing together outside the new settlement. "The galaxy is smaller now, but it's not empty. We kept the light alive during the darkness, and now we can help it grow bright again." The final protocol had worked. Humanity had saved itself and preserved hope for the future. Now that future was beginning, and it looked beautiful.